Time, the most successful fiction ever created. Let me begin with a question. What exactly is time? Not what a clock measures, not what your watch displays, not what appears on your smartphone. What is time in and of itself? It sounds like a simple question. However, the fact is that after thousands of years of philosophy and hundreds of years of science, nobody really knows. We all behave as if time exists. We schedule meetings, we celebrate birthdays, we complain about running out of time. We are born, live, and then die when our time is up. But what if I asked you to point at time? Where would you look? You can point to a clock, you can point to a calendar, you can point to the movement of the sun. But can you point to time itself? No. And that suspicion lies at the heart of a much deeper question. What if time is not something we discover from the world around us? Rather, it is something we have constructed in our heads, in what we call reality. For each of us, individually, a highly subjective, very personal reality. Now, in my books and videos, I toss the word reality around willy-nilly. Here, I want to outline what I mean and to demonstrate its ambiguity. According to Immanuel Kant, what each of us considers our reality is not the chaos that is the totality of objects in the surrounding universe. Kant calls them noumena. They are what we humans as individuals pathetically attempt to describe in terms of phenomena. Each of us is trapped as a biological being operating within our own personal triad of sensory observation, cognition, and memory, continuously filtering what we call meaning from our unknowable surroundings. Now, since I've opened the door to Immanuel Kant's critique of pure reason, I should consider his view of time. In Kant's transcendental idealism, there is a distinction between phenomena and noumena, which answers how humans can share an apparent objective knowledge of the world, all the while acknowledging that we can never truly know its ultimate reality. Phenomena are the objects of human experience, the things as they appear to our senses, and using memory are processed by our cognitive faculties. Kant claimed that for humans to experience anything, our minds must filter and organize raw sensory data using innate structures common to our species. The most important of these mental structures are space and time. He said, we do not experience space and time as external features of the universe. Rather, they are lenses through which human minds structure all perceptions. All empirical science and everyday knowledge operate within this realm of phenomena, what each of us must choose to call our personal realities. Noumena are the objects as they exist independently of our perception and our cognitive categories, which Kant often referred to as the thing in itself, in German, Ding an sich. He maintained that because human cognition requires our minds to shape and format sensory information, we can never experience an object without those filters. Therefore, noumena are fundamentally unknowable to us. Noumena exist as the necessary counterpart to phenomena. They are the limiting concept that indicates that our knowledge of what appears to our senses is not absolute knowledge of the universe. From time immemorial, yes, I'm aware of the irony, From time immemorial, we have constructed and shared phenomenal interpretations of that noumenal chaos among our fellow humans and called it shared reality. Each human may entertain multiple differing realities, which may even be contradictory. However, we must always differentiate between such subjective personal realities, the phenomena we filter, and the actual universal reality itself, the thing our senses observe, the noumena, always assuming that such an actual reality exists, albeit unknown and unknowable, which incidentally means there's no such thing as holistic thinking. Clearly, each personal reality is malleable, changing when challenged by more credible, different realities of fellow travellers, and from sensing and then dealing with them, those extraordinary changes in our environment, from, for example, new innovative technologies. Each subjective reality will be different, although very similar in each human. In our book, The Technological Construction of Reality, my co-author, Professor Dionysios Demetis, and I describe how technology is creating a variety of different and differing personal realities in each of us. Each personal reality is a map of the universal terrain, the actual and unknowable reality that surrounds us, but it is never the terrain in itself. For centuries, science did not question the existence of time. The assumption was that it had been truly captured from the universal chaos. We assumed that time was a fundamental component of an actual reality. We assumed the actual universe contained matter, that the universe contained space, and that the universe contained time. We took it for granted that time was real, absolute, and unceasing, in and by itself. It was far more than a mere cognitive construction, percolating across shared human awareness. Then along came Albert Einstein. Suddenly, time was no longer absolute. It stretched, it contracted, it depended upon motion and gravity. In the notion of space-time, all certainty about time disappeared. And of course, space-time also is not a thing in itself, rather another cognitive construction we use to describe what our triad of senses, cognition, memory, filter from the surrounding chaos. The combined effect of special and general relativity gives us a real-world example. Clocks on GPS satellites gain about 38 microseconds per day over clocks on the Earth. And indeed, quantum entanglement hints that time itself, and even distance, may be features of our description of reality rather than properties of reality itself. However, the deeper challenge comes not from physics, but from epistemology. How do we know what we know? Or more provocatively, why do we continue to mistake the cognitive models constructed inside our own heads for the chaotic universe that exists independently of them? This question formed a central theme of the book Science's First Mistake, also written with my good friend Professor Dionysios Demetis. Our argument was simple. Many scientists often forget that their theories are descriptions rather than discoveries of ultimate truth. Their maps become mistaken for the terrain. The models become mistaken for an actual reality. And nowhere is this more apparent than in our treatment of time. Think about clocks. We are taught that clocks measure time. But do they? A grandfather clock measures the oscillation of a pendulum. A quartz clock measures vibrations in a crystal. An atomic clock measures transitions between atomic energy states. Every clock measures regularities and change. None measures time in itself. What we call time is actually a comparison between successive, regularly occurring events. In other words, time may not be something the clocks reveal. Time may be something we infer. That distinction is profound. In Science's First Mistake, we drew heavily upon a tradition running from Kant through Nietzsche and into contemporary systems theory. Kant saw time as pure intuition. The idea of time, he said, may be a way consciousness organizes experience. Nietzsche saw that we misunderstand time as a useful fiction. Consequently, Dionysius and I approached the notion of time from the perspective that the necessary observation of the various events surrounding us can never be neutral. Following Nicholas Luhmann, we claim every observation requires distinctions. Before we can describe the world, we must decide what counts as an object, what counts as an event, as a phenomenon, what counts as relevant. Time is one such distinction. We each carve our personal realities into past, present, and future, but the actual reality itself may contain no such divisions. Those divisions belong to us and not to the universe. Now, let us take a step further. In our second book, The Technological Construction of Reality, Dionysius and I argued that technologies do not merely assist observation, they actively construct the personal realities within which we live. This applies particularly to time. Consider medieval Europe. Time was local. People lived according to sunrise, sunset, and church bells. Then came mechanical clocks. All change. Suddenly everyone had to coordinate. Work began at a particular hour. Markets opened at a particular hour. Factories demanded punctuality. Trains, days ran to a timetable. The whole world chose to position themselves against Greenwich Mean Time. Technology did not merely measure time. Technology created a new reality called clock time. A different world had emerged. A different society had emerged. A different human being had emerged. A different shared personal reality had emerged. Today we are witnessing another transformation. Digital technologies are creating entirely new temporal realities. Algorithms operate in microseconds. Financial markets execute trades faster than human perception. Artificial intelligence systems learn continuously at awesome speeds. Cryptocurrencies settle globally without regard to traditional business hours. The old temporal structures are breaking down. The future arrives unevenly. In some people's realities, time accelerates. For others, it fragments. For others still, it becomes an endless present. Think of social media. Every event is immediate. Every crisis is urgent. Every outrage is now. The distinction between present and future begins to collapse. Technology is reconstructing time before our very eyes. Now, this idea resonates strongly with the sociologist Nicholas Luhmann, whose work, as already mentioned, has greatly influenced both Dionysius and myself. Luhmann argued that social systems create their own personal realities through communication. What counts as relevant today may become irrelevant tomorrow. Each social system continuously reconstructs its own presence. From this perspective, time is not merely physical, time is communicative, time is social, time is organizational. Time is constructed through regularities and distinctions made by and shared by observers. Now consider memory. We often imagine the past as something fixed. But is it? Every act of remembering reconstructs the past. The past is continually rewritten through present observation. Similarly, the future exists only as expectation. Neither past nor future are directly available. Only present observations are. Friedrich Nietzsche understood this well. He repeatedly challenged the assumption that our conceptual frameworks reveal reality as it is in itself. Instead, they reveal each personal reality in a form that creatures like us are predisposed to organize it. Perhaps this is time's place in each personal reality, not a discovery, rather a necessary one, a shared cognitive technology. Now we arrive at the truly radical possibility. What if time is humanity's greatest technology? Not clocks, not calendars, rather time itself is the product of technology. A conceptual invention enabling coordination among billions of individuals. A shared fiction so successful that we mistake it for actual reality. As we explain in the technological construction of reality, money works in this way, law works in this way, identity works in this way, and perhaps time works in this way too. These constructions are not illusions. They have enormous consequences, but their power derives from collective acceptance, not from physical existence. The irony is that our technologies increasingly expose this fact. Virtual worlds operate on different timescales. Financial algorithms inhabit temporal environments inaccessible to humans. Artificial intelligence may soon possess entirely different temporal experiences from our own. The future may not contain only one version of time. It may contain many, multiple realities, multiple temporalities, multiple worlds, exactly the kind of technological pluralism explored through the technological construction of reality. So let me finish with a question. Suppose future generations accepts Kant's inference that time does not fundamentally exist in itself. Suppose they conclude that reality consists only of relationships and change. Suppose they decide that past, present and future are very similar personal distinctions generated by each observer, but distinctions nonetheless. Would that diminish human experience? I think the opposite, because the mystery would become even greater. The question would be no longer what is time, instead it would become what kind of beings are we, that reality appears to us in the form of time. And perhaps that question tells us more about humanity than any clock ever could. Thank you.